it didn't turn out to be any of those same things. We've talked about the fact that we like to play along with movies and try to figure out what's going on and so on and so forth. With this one, half a dozen different movies that I could liken it to, but in the end, it wasn't at all what we expected. It was what we thought, but not what we expected.
You know what? It was kind of what I was expecting or looking for, but then it was even more. Even more.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. My notes start with, it's a little like, I'm not sure why I said Mr. Robot, but it's that thing where it's a lot of atmosphere, a lot to absorb, a lot to listen to. You're looking for the subtleties of what's happening. It's beautifully shot, but it's a slow film. It's damn near 2.5 hours long, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty long.
Yeah. So, this is a private note. I'm not sure I meant to put this in here, but something about growing up with a dad and it being freeing. Him not having a father.
What? Okay.
Because a point is made of this young man. Something happened to our hero, to our protagonist, with his father at a young age. And so he has grown up without him, so it's made him arguably more ambitious. And this is where I thought we were going to get wrapped up in the corporate world of, getting ahead and so on and so forth. And I just put a side note here that was freeing. In my case, since I didn't have a male influence in my life per se, I had lots of male influences in my life, and therefore I was able to be my own person as opposed to living up to somebody else's expectations.
Well,
that's maybe an overshare. Anyhow, in my other things here, it says Shutter Island, it says the movie Coma, anyhow. So yeah, there was just any number of films, but
here was one of the reviews I saw in here. I don't know how much of this I want to read, but this reviewer said, I guess a lot of people didn't like the movie. Maybe they were, I don't know, there's some surprises in it. If you're not ready for it, it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I was ready for anything that evening.
Well, we got everything. And that's something else that we'll talk about in a moment.
Well, this person says, unlike the previous reviewers, I love this movie. I'm a horror fan. This movie was like eating a huge, wonderful piece of chocolate cake with ice cream, slowly savoring every bite. Yes, this movie is a self-indulgent, guilty pleasure. Yes, it is long. I don't think they left anything on the cutting room floor. They couldn't. It's all just so good. And then he says that the director begged, borrowed, and stole from just about every horror classic, from Hitchcock to Kubrick, from Frankenstein to Shutter Island, to even include that old TV show, Fear Factor. It would be a great party game to name all the movie references in this film. So,
yeah.
I don't think they did leave anything on the cutting room floor. If they did, I'd love to see it. So going back to the story.
The story.
We have our hero.
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart. Mm-hmm. Don't recall his first name because everyone in the whole movie called him Mr. Lockhart.
Well, yes, because it was a business.
He's a young man, very ambitious, climbing the ladder in the corporate world.
Yep. Doing some shady stuff to get there, maybe.
Yes. He gets caught. So he's sent off, I guess all is going to be overlooked or forgiven.
Yeah.
If he goes and brings back
the CEO of the company.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't even a CEO. Was it CEO?
Well, I don't think it was a CEO.
Founder or whatever. Anyhow, there's a merger.
None of that even mattered.
Yeah, there's a merger that can't happen unless he shows up. And
all of that was just the thing to get him at the wellness center.
Yeah.
So he's off to Switzerland. He's kind of, he's one of those just so hardcore business person. Like, he's not enjoying life. He's all about money and the power and the company and climbing the ladder and status. And so he's one of those intense, A
little bit like Patrick in American Psycho.
Okay.
Except he's not a serial killer.
It's only not like him, but yeah. So there's that. So he comes to the wellness center in Switzerland. Beautiful scenery, by the way.
Tremendous.
The setting.
I think Lonely Bob will enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really a great setting. The surrounding land, and then also the building and the wellness center itself.
It's actually shot in Germany, and that was an actual castle that it was shot in.
Okay.
So, I mean,
That's
the locations
good to know. It wasn't all just fabricated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the
I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of the castle.
You better not then.
Yeah.
But so there was that. So it was a great setting for this crazy story to start unfolding. Of course, you get kind of something I really liked about it. It had an air of
Gothic horror?
Well, for sure. Yeah, it was very
claustrophobic evil.
That too.
Sorry.
Turn of the century, kind of not real modern medical facility equipment. They were kind of in the old days, the old sanatorium.
Right. Well, the sanatorium, the whole thing, I mean, like I said, it was movies that we could liken it to, also right down to The Evil Within. If you played that video game.
Yeah.
It's a video game and stuff.
Yes.
That sanatorium, just they referred to the humors being out of balance. So even
so it was
the medical was archaic.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like not modern thinking at all. Kind of a little bit. So I mean, he just thinks it's ridiculous. Like, here, drink the water. They think the water.
The water's healing and purifying.
Yes, the water has healing properties. So.
That sanatorium is actually part of a former hospital that was used to treat World War I soldiers and stuff. Like Adolf Hitler was treated there.
Oh, wow.
They did it. Well, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, it looked like it was the 1930s or 40s or older. But I liked that. I liked that because it kind of, you were like, wait, what year is this again? Wait, this is modern.
It was easy to forget.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's how come they're not on their cell phones? How come, So
you kind of had a little feeling of dread because...
You're cut off from all those things that you...
Yeah, modern medicine, I welcome that. 1920s or turn of the century, yeah, no thank you. And at one point, the doctor says they don't believe in anesthesia there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no thank you.
So...
So he's there. He thinks he's going to just breeze in. He pulls up in his... I almost said Uber. He pulls up in his... It's not even a cab. A car is like...
It's a car for hire.
It seems like it's one of the only cars that will actually drive up to this place.
Right.
And then that brings in the village down below.
Right.
There's a village at the foot of the mountains. People don't go up the mountain. They don't like people coming down off the mountain. People know enough to stay away from there. Obviously, there's something creepy going on.
Yes.
So he gets a car. There's one guy who drives a car that shuttles people back and forth that need to go up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks he's going to go up there, find the guy from his job, grab him, and be on the next plane out of there.
Yeah.
But
it's not quite what happens.
Everything just kind of goes downhill from there.
I'm not sure why I have a note of sea monkeys on here.
Ugh.
Maybe I do know why I have that on.
Yes.
Other things that it reminds me of, the TV show Prophet. I don't know if anybody ever saw that. That was like, wow, that was the 90s, mid-90s or whatever. I've got a note here about the car crash in here. There's a very intense car crash. Like, there's every type of horror type thing happening.
Yeah.
Your body horror, your dentistry, your
there's
doctor.
A lot of just creepy, gross out, that makes you just,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't like dentists, oh dear. Yeah.
The car crash I was going to talk about, though. The best car crash was, what was that? Was it in Let Me In or Let the Right One In?
Yeah.
Which one of those? That's like the best car crash ever. But this has a very intense car crash, though I believe that the deer that they hit is CG, but I'm somewhat reassured by that.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in there too.
Yeah. So this also, for anybody that does want to spend the time to check it out, again, it's 2.5 hours. There's 3 false endings. I mean, is that a spoiler saying that? Because I wrote it down.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're not enjoying the movie and you're just like, you're committed and you're waiting for the ending, I could see where people would be irritated Because, it's like the ending.
You
something
feel it
happens.
coming. It's there. You're with it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to shut it off in about 5 minutes, and then it's like it keeps going.
Yeah.
Or something else happens or whatever, and then it...
But there's more.
And then it continues, yes. And then
I could have sat there all night and watched that.
Very, very succinctly, it's coming to an end. It's coming to a point. It's about to end. And then it goes on again.
But
and it's like,
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something else that needs to be
resolved
dealt with.
or handled or dealt with.
Yeah. So you've got like a really cool old story about an old crazy baron that used to live in this castle.
Right.
And he and his family were obsessed with the pure bloodlines, so he was, trying to marry his sister, and he felt his sister was the only one pure enough to carry his child. So you've got like
Game of Thrones.
Well, that's something different going on there, but so you've got like this kind of creepy story that's been going on around here. It's all in there. So I kept thinking, like, is there going to be a ghostly element? It's talking about these old creepy things that happen here.
Right.
So, I mean, and everything that I could not wait to see what the H was happening, because everything I thought was happening.
I'm watching your gestures and your body language, and your hands are flying all over the place.
There was so much stuff going on.
And everything you thought was happening too. I mean, on some level or another. So, and it all wove together to make sense.
Well, that was the thing. Like, just when you sit there and you go, you know what, this could be happening, or, wow, it could be something totally different. Like, that could be happening. Well, surprise, both are happening. It was kind of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I was right, but what is this now?
Yeah.
Like, there's something totally funky going on.
Answered questions lead to more questions often. So, yeah. There's Easter eggs in there, too. If you do speak another language, if you are outside the U.S., because I just assume that everybody here only speaks one language. But yeah, if you do speak other languages and stuff.
Not a good assumption.
And you're going to see even more Easter eggs in there and stuff. Like maybe taking note of people's reading materials or things like that.
Okay.
There are other hints as to what's going on in there, too.
Interesting.
Not that it explains everything, but there's other fun stuff in there. There's the fact that, well, yeah, you know what? I don't want to give spoilers. I don't know who I'd recommend the movie to.
I don't.
What do you give this one?
I was going to say, there's almost no way to. I mean, you don't even have to. Like some movies, when we talk about it, it's like we can't talk about it without giving away spoilers.
Right.
This movie, there's plenty to say without giving away what's going on, because it's just so
much weirder than
nuts.
That.
Yeah. I liked that. It had the old classic, kind of ethereal sort of this
dreamlike quality.
Yeah, well, and like this girl that lives there that's different than anybody else. How I've lived here.
Is she a ghost?
Yes,
yeah.
I've lived here my whole life. I'm not well, and so it's like, what's her story now? It's like it was definitely a dozen different movies pulled into one.
If you listening to the podcast haven't already checked it out and stuff, I actually included the link on the Facebook page. That's one of the places you can find it, or you can go to Podomatic. But I included some of the meditations.
Oh.
Some of the because they were
in case anybody's suffering from a what were they exactly saying people were suffering from?
Anything. It was just a recuperation spa. Just whatever they felt.
They made it. But they kind of see, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is a movie about it's a cautionary tale about don't get that involved in your career and your job, because they made it. A lot of the people that were there were high up people in companies that were like ready to have a heart attack or a stroke or something because they're so stressed out from their job all the time.
And they needed to take it easier.
So it seemed like it was mostly business people.
Well, that's what I said, and that's what I expected to get, but instead I wound up with this Lovecraftian story.
Right. And it was both.
And it was both.
It was a cautionary tale. Don't work so hard. You might end up at this place. And that's not good for anybody.
So it does have a certain amount of interactive element also. So if you want some meditations, you can meditate on air and water and some of those basic nature things. Anyhow, so like I said, what do you give this movie?
What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay.
I
want to give it like a 4.5.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's almost a 5. It's